Hey students, in this video we're going to go through section 9.1, which is about Introduction to Statistics. And our learning target today is I can identify statistical questions and use data to answer statistical questions. So our vocab up here at the top, we have statistics as our first word. Statistics is the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting data. A statistical question is one for which you do not expect to get a single answer. Instead, you expect a variety of answers, and you are interested in the distribution and tendency of those answers. So, for example, a statistical question might be asking your class how many siblings they have, because we know that not everybody is going to have the same number of siblings, right? There's not just one or two answers, there's a variety of answers. And so we're interested in the distribution and tendency, like how many people have one sibling, how many people have three siblings, right? And how spread out that is, its distribution. So, example one, we're going to determine whether the question is a statistical question and explain. So, the first one, A, how many countries start with the letter Z? So, we basically want to ask ourselves, is there more than one answer to this? If so, it's a statistical question. Well, there's a certain number of countries in the world, and a specific number of them start with the letter Z. So, there's really only one answer to this, and therefore it is not a statistical question. I'm going to put not stat Q, not statistical question, because there's only one answer. There is a specific number of countries that do start with the letter Z. All right, part B, how much do bags of pretzels cost at the grocery store? Well, I imagine that if you went to different grocery stores in different cities, states, countries, you would probably have different costs for those pretzels. There's not just one cost. And so this is a statistical question because the cost is different at different stores. So, because there is more than one answer to this, right? There's not just one cost for every single bag of pretzels. This is a statistical question. Part C, how many days does your school have off for spring break this year? Well, if we're talking just about just our school, we want to ask, are there different answers to this, or is there just one answer? Well, there's just one answer, right? Our school has just a specific number of days off for this year. And so this is not a statistical question because there's only one answer, right? We have 5 days off. That is the exact answer. Now, this one can seem a little confusing because if we were to be asking at different schools, how many days do you have off? Then it could be different, right? Different schools could have different amounts. But if we're asking just our individual school, there's only one answer. So it is not a statistical question. And part D, what are the hair colors of students in your class? So we want to think, is there just one answer to this? Are there multiple answers? Well, if you look around your class, you'll probably see there are multiple different hair colors in your class. And so this is a statistical question because there are multiple hair colors. Right? Some people have brown hair, black hair, blonde hair, red hair. They might have their hair dyed purple or pink or green or blue. There is not just one answer to this, so it is a statistical question. So let's just add a note to ourselves that a statistical question has more than one answer. That's in our definition, but if we're just going to write it down kind of in short words, statistical question has more than one answer. All right, next we're going to talk about dot plots. A dot plot uses a number line to show the number of times each value in a data set occurs. Dot plots show the spread and distribution of the data. It shows how spread out it is and where it is spread out to its distribution. So in example 2, it says you record the high temperature every day while at summer camp in August. Then you create a vertical dot plot. Find and interpret the number of data values on the dot plot. So here's the dot plot. So this is an example of what it looks like. It's a number line. And basically each dot represents one time that value occurred. So this means that the value 87 occurred 4 times. This means the value 85 occurred 3 times. The value 84 occurred 1 time. So we want to find and interpret the number of data values on the dot plot. So first, let's find the number. We're basically just going to count all the dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. There's 28 dots. Now it asks us, that means 28 data values. We want to know, what does that really mean? Well, it says that you recorded the high temperature every day while at summer camp. So there's one dot for each day you were at summer camp. So this means you were at summer camp for 28 days. 28 days at camp. That's the meaning of the number of dots, the number of values. Part B, how can you collect these data and what are the units? So they're asking, how can I collect this information? How can I collect temperature? Well, that would be using a thermometer. And what are the units? How do we measure temperature? Well, we measure it in degrees, but those degrees could be Fahrenheit, they could be Celsius. Now, if you look at this, if you know anything about Fahrenheit and Celsius, in Celsius, 100 degrees is boiling water. And so these are very close to 100 degrees. That would be extremely hot and wouldn't really be reasonable. So these are probably measured in Fahrenheit. Also, most of the time in the US, we measure temperature in Fahrenheit. It's in other countries, like countries in Europe and other countries across the world, that will measure in Celsius. And finally, write a statistical question that you can answer using the dot plot, then answer the question. So we want to think, what could I answer using this information? Well, it shows me the high temperature at summer camp each day. So what if I asked, what is the high temperature at summer camp each day? That is a statistical question because we can see it is not the same every single day. There's not one answer. So our question is, what is the high temp at camp? Now, the thing is, we know there's not one right answer. So you might be wondering, well, how do we answer this? Well, we answer this by kind of looking at where the most of the data tends to fall. We just want to describe most of the data. So it looks like there's not a ton going on in the middle here, but I have a big cluster of data here and a big cluster of data here. And so I might answer this by saying the high temp on average, about half the time is around 86 degrees, and about half the time it's around 81 degrees. So we can say half the time around 86 degrees, and then half the time around 81 degrees. This is on average because we're not saying that's always what it's going to be. This is just kind of like on average, it's about that temperature.